So you've been eyeing your competitors, you've been eyeing the folks in your industry, and everyone and their mama seems like they're getting a rebrand, right? And at this point, you're like, look, I think it's time. I've been in business for X amount of years. I think I'm ready to just go ahead and jump on it, right? But that's not always the case. I want to go over the signs that you are not ready for a rebrand. Because at the end of the day, like I always say, you're not necessarily just hiring someone to bring you on. Us designers are also on the side of, is this person a good fit? Are they ready for this investment? Are they ready for the time that it's going to take to put this in? So I want to walk through just a few signs, right? And I want you to know if you're ready, if you're not ready, if you need a few more weeks, months, years before you even hop into the whole rebranding, because there's so much that goes into business outside of what it looks like and the audience and the writing on the website, right? Hey good people, my name is Sydney Hart, brand strategist, designer, and copywriter, the founder of With Hart Creative Studio, aka the home of Big Brand Energy. We provide full service rebrands for content creators and media personalities so they can reintroduce themselves with style and collaborate and attract their dream partnerships. So I'm so glad you're here. Kick your feet up and take your notes out, because we're really going to be breaking it down about why you're probably not ready for a rebrand. So like I said, I'm going to focus on how to know if you're not ready, what to focus on instead, and the aspects of your business that you want to prepare for when it comes to getting a new brand, a new website, and all that jazz. So the first sign that you're not ready is that you don't have the budget, right? I know, especially me as a business owner, I understand that sometimes you want to invest in things and you may not be quite ready, but you're like, look, I'm going to figure it out either way. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to throw out this last minute offer and see how well it does so I can make an extra, X amount of dollars a month. But at the end of the day, an investment like this, like rebranding, is something that you really want to prepare for. And you want to have a budget ready. So if you don't have the budget, a lot of the times a rebrand can become a lot more difficult than you would have thought, right? A rebrand is a commitment that takes weeks, maybe even months sometimes. Some folks take full years, I don't, but it's a long time, and it's something that really needs to take time, and it needs to have care instituted inside of it. So when it comes to a rebrand, a lot of the times you're not just paying for design or for copy, you're also paying for strategy. I know in my rebrand, all of my clients have a brand photo shoot. So things like a hairstylist, a makeup artist, sometimes even a fashion stylist, and a venue are all out-of-pocket things that I don't necessarily cover, right? If you're switching website hosting platforms and it's more expensive than your last one, that's also something you have to take into consideration. So I always tell people that when you think about the number of a rebrand, you don't just stop at that number, because every investment is going to cost you a bit more, right? And that's something that I make super clear to clients, but I want you to know before you reach out to anyone that you have to have a budget, and you have to be clear on that budget when you talk to whoever it is that you want to rebrand you. So the next time that you're not ready is that you can't dedicate the time to the project. Now, we all know that usually when people pay someone to design for them, write for them, etc., that they already don't have the time, right? You're handing this over because you don't have the time.
I'm swamped.
The experience, the talent, the capacity, maybe you're swamped with clients. But I want you to also know that just because you don't have the time to do the actual design, you must have time to dedicate to the project. There are strategy meetings, there are check-ins, there's time that you have to sit down and review design files and review content when it comes to writing. So you have to have the time to dedicate to that so you can give the proper feedback and you're not really rushing through the process, right? Because like we said, if you're ready, you've already instituted a budget for this. and you've already instituted the time frame that it would take. So you don't want things to go a lot further in terms of time than they have to, because you've taken 14 days instead of 5 to get feedback returned, right? So make sure that you have the time allotted to set aside time to, like I said, do things like review, meet, and ultimately prepare for your launch, because a rebrand is a big thing. You should have time to celebrate it, you should have time to rest in it, and you should also have time to put the work in and push towards your goals. So the third sign that you're not ready for a rebrand is that you don't have an aligned service, right? So when it comes to rebranding, I always tell folks, this may sound a little harsh, but whatever. I always tell folks that our brand strategy workshop, our meetings are not necessarily a therapy session.
I had a big revelation about myself, and now that I figured it out, I think I'm going to be less sad.
For you to figure out what it is that you do, right? We are using what it is that you do to position your expertise and design in a way that attracts your ideal client, period, right? So it's not the time to rebrand when you're still determining your framework, your processes, your systems, your deliverables, the outcomes. In my process, I also ask for testimonials. So if this isn't a proven framework or proven process in a way, then how are we going to sell it, right? And during my process, I also write copy. So when these things aren't aligned, it makes it so much harder to position what it is that you do and write in a way that is explainable, that makes sense, but that also is really, really clear on what it is that you do, as well as what it is that you do not do. Because I think that when it comes to your rebrand, most of the time, people are not only trying to attract their audience, but they're also trying to deflect the folks that they don't want to work with. When you have gotten to a point where you're ready to redo everything, it's usually because you've had a few nightmare experiences, you've had a few clients that you kind of felt your way through the project and you understood that wasn't where you wanted to be. So when you're not clear about what it is that you do, the service, the name of the service, the process it takes to get to the service, you don't have onboarding, all of these things can cause hiccups when it comes to navigating a rebrand. Because the last thing you want to do is launch and you're launching to crickets because you haven't really clearly explained your services. You haven't prepared your audience for whatever change is about to come. So the last sign that you are not ready for a rebrand is that you don't know your target audience, your niche, or your dream collaborators.
It's really, really important to know your target audience because they tell you the do's and don'ts to get you to where you gotta go.
Right? As a content creator, as a media personality, as a service provider, you are at a place where, like I said before, you know who you want to work with, you know who you don't want to work with, but ultimately there's a lot more work that needs to be done outside of this is their name, this is their age, this is where they live, because we truly need to know, what are these people feeling, what are their fears, what are their emotions, what are they not telling you that we need to dig in and figure out. If you've done no research at all when it comes to your audience, if you've done no workshopping in your own business to figure out who it is that you want to serve, then that's a problem. Even when it comes to something as simple as age, right? I can't write to a 25-year-old and a 65-year-old. At that point, even if folks have the same business, same niche, same kind of service, they're at a different point in their businesses, in their lives, and we have to write to that. So these are just a few signs that you are not ready for a rebrand. I think that when it comes to all of these things, you have to focus on your strategy. First and foremost, I suggest getting a business coach, entering a business course, watching some business YouTube videos about how to learn all about your ideal client, how to budget, how to increase your prices so that way you're earning more and you can pay and delegate out a lot more often, right? So when it comes to rebranding, it's not just a one and done thing. It's a part of an entire process. It's a part of the process of you already understanding your onboarding, your audience, and your service. It's also a part of the process of your marketing strategy and your team. Because at the end of the day, this rebrand isn't just something that needs to be implemented in your own business for yourself. If you have folks that you're working with day in and day out, whether it be brand partnerships, collaborators, like I said before, your team. So I hope this helps when it comes to determining not only if you're ready for a rebrand, but also what it is that you need to focus on before you even get there. I want you to be powerful, and I want you to have the luxuries of handing things off, but I also want you to be prepared, right? So thanks so much for visiting me in the home of Big Brand Energy. I'd love for you to comment below if you have gotten a rebrand or you have reached out to someone before for a rebrand. Have you ran into these issues? Was there something that you took time to really figure out before you hopped into it? Talk back to me and let me know. Thanks so much. Again, my name is Sydney Hart. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in the home of Big Brand Energy, and you have a good one.